Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and I am so excited to be celebrating 10 years of meaningful conversations with you. As we step into our new primetime hour, it's such an honor to share this exciting new chapter with you. So whether you're starting your day out, headed to work, or listening from wherever you are, this hour is designed to bring you thoughtful dialogue, fresh insight, and inspiring stories so you can make every moment count. So thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive in. We're here today with special guest, Sarah V. Barnes, who's here to share with us her Silver Nautilus award-winning novel, A Clan Chief's Daughter. So what can a story set 6,000 years ago teach us about courage, leadership, family, and resilience? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. Critically acclaimed, award-winning novelist Sarah V. Barnes is both a historian and a horsewoman. Her first novel, She Who Rides Horses, received the 2022 Best Indie Book Award for Historical Fiction, among other prizes. Her award-winning book, A Clan Chief's Daughter, represents the second installment in the She Who Rides Horses trilogy. Sarah holds a PhD in history from Northwestern University and spent many years as a college professor before turning full-time to writing and writing. So welcome to the show, Sarah V. Barnes.
Thank you so much, Marianne. It's really a delight to be here.
Oh my goodness, what a great honor it is to have you here. And congratulations on your Silver Nautilus Book Award. I mean, what an accomplishment.
I'm very proud to be able to be recognized by Nautilus. They are a wonderful organization, and the mission of bringing recognition to books and stories that seek to make a difference in the world is certainly something to strive for. So.
Well, I love this saga, but let's start with your first book, She Who Rides Horses. Can you share a little bit about that book with us?
Yes, it's the story of Naya, who is the first person to ride a horse. So the book is set in 4000 BCE on the steppes of what's now southern Russia and Ukraine. And it's above all a story. So there's adventure, there's conflict, there's a little romance, but it's also as historically accurate as possible. So think sort of Clan of the Cave Bear meets My Friend Flicka. So I am a historian in terms of my first career, and then I switched gears entirely and returned to a childhood passion for horses. And so I have a background as a horsewoman as well. So the story really braids together two passions in my life, and tells the story of a remarkable relationship between humans and horses that really did change the world.
So, what inspired you then to continue this journey in A Clan Chief's Daughter?
Well, as I worked on the book, it became clear to me that it was not just one book. It was really at least three, as it turns out. So this is the second book in the trilogy. The first book brings Naya through many adventures and the establishment of a relationship with a particular special red filly. But the second book begins when Naya and her mother return to her family. And so, in a lot of hero's journey type stories, the hero leaves home and goes out and has the adventures of the journey, and then returns home with the prize that he's won, whatever that is, knowledge or treasure or whatever. there's a twist on that story for Naya. It's really sort of a feminist version of the hero's journey. For her, the real challenges begin not when she leaves home, but when she returns. So, A Clan Chief's Daughter is about the challenges and dilemmas that come into play when Naya and the Red Filly return to her home and her clan.
So earlier you mentioned that you are a historian. How did you do the research for this period of time for this book?
Well, I should really preface that by saying that I didn't intend to start writing a novel. I was actually at a retreat with Linda Kahonov, who is one of the founders of equine facilitated therapy and learning. Back in the early 2000s, she wrote a book called The Tao of Equus. And I was at a retreat at Linda's ranch in southern Arizona that was a writing retreat, but I didn't go because I had any illusions of being a writer, but mostly because I just wanted to go to another one of Linda's workshops. And the focus of the workshop was to work with her horses to encourage intuition and creativity and bring that sort of opening of intuition to writing. And so on the third day of the workshop, she turned us loose on the property and said, just write whatever comes, and we'll get back together in the morning and talk about what came to you. And so I sat down, opened my laptop, and this story just started to flow about the first girl to ride a horse, sat on the steps, and all these images came to me, and I just wrote. And by the next morning, I had the whole first chapter of the first book. And Linda loved it and encouraged me to keep working on it, which I did. And for a long time, my experience was just that. I would sit down and sort of wonder, oh, wonder what's going to happen today. And I'd find myself putting in details, and not until three chapters later would I figure out what the importance of that particular detail was. And so I actually didn't do a lot of research right off the bat. I just wrote. And then, because I am a historian, I did go back and start to do the research. And prehistory was not my area of specialization, but of course, as a professional historian, you do develop a lot of research skills. And so I dove deep into the archaeology and the anthropology and ancient DNA research that had been done. And the interesting thing was that a lot of the details that I had imagined turned out to be corroborated by the history and by the research. So since then, it's been a process of allowing that creative story to come through, and then going back and checking the research, and then allowing what the scholars and academics have discovered to then inform where the story goes. So um, it's a process of both creativity and research, and it's a lot more fun, I have to say, there than the things that I was writing as an academic, because there's always a gap between what happened in the past and what we can know about what happened in the past. And as an academic, you really are obligated to stay on one side of that gap with what the evidence, what you can argue from the evidence, what is the story that you can tell from the evidence. But the gap is really where the creativity comes in. And so if there are questions that can't yet be answered, I actually just get to make things up.
Well, you did such a beautiful job pulling the entire story together, and I love how it has such historical significance throughout it because when you're reading it, it really does seem to flow so well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, I do feel like this story isn't really mine. I've just um, been given the responsibility of telling it. And so I do want to bring it out into the world in a way that, like I said, it's primarily a good story, but also has a many layers, many levels.
Well, one of the layers I felt was the horses. I mean, they play such a meaningful role throughout the series. What do they symbolize for you and just their historical importance as well?
Well, I am a horse person, and my own horses have certainly been my inspiration throughout. And I think humans have always had a fascination with horses. We know this from the Paleolithic cave art from 30,000 years ago. So there has always been a really a spiritual connection, I think, between humans and horses, and they are such remarkable sentient beings. And I think we're only rediscovering the level of their intelligence and what they can offer to teach us in terms of emotional intelligence and nonverbal communication and how to be in relationship with the natural world. But to the little girl who drives by a field of horses and says, "Mommy, Daddy, can we go touch them? Can we go see them?" None of that matters. It's just a heart level connection. And we lose that as we become adults. And I think for women like myself who find their way back to horses as grown-ups, it it being with horses is a way to rediscover that childlike connection, heart connection to self and to another being. Um, so they have so much to offer us and so much to teach us. Yeah.
I felt that family, loyalty, and leadership were so interwoven throughout the story. Why are these themes so important to explore today?
One of the things that I discovered as I did the research, well, actually, really, as I was writing before I did the research, the community that Naya comes from is, for lack of a better word, quite patriarchal. And her father is a clan chief, and he is has just stepped into that role following the illness and then death of his father, who was a clan chief. And so as I was writing and these characters were showing up, and I was like, well, is this because this is a world that feels familiar to me from stories and from the world that we live in today? Why is this girl living 6,000 years ago in this patriarchal context? And what I discovered was that, in fact, in addition to patriarchal structures arising with the arrival of agriculture and urbanization, a form of patriarchy did develop in the steppe with pastoralists, people who were herding cattle, sheep, and goats. And the belief systems and social structures and gender relations, leadership models that arose from that context went on to have a tremendous impact on the rest of the world. And the domestication of the horse was a big reason for that. So, language, cosmology, all spread from the Pontic Caspian steppe, which is this area north of the Black Sea, um, all spread throughout the world of Indo-European speakers. And so my little story about the first person to ride a horse is situated in the midst of world shaping events that the domestication of the horse contributed to.
I found that your characters often face really difficult choices, especially when there isn't like a clear right or wrong answer. So, why do these kind of moral dilemmas interest you as an author?
Well, I think for the reason they hopefully interest readers. These are human dilemmas that we all face, and perennial questions that confront us as humans, particularly coming of age and confronting that big question that we all face: Who am I? Who am I, and what are my gifts, and what am I here to do in the world? And that is why we turn to stories. We want to see ourselves. We want to imagine answers to those questions, um, and learn something. Um, Maybe experience what it feels like to be someone else. Make different decisions. So I think it's all about imagination and imagining ourselves, and imagining different stories.
In your book, it seems like nature becomes a character within the novel. It's so rich. How does the landscape shape the people and the story?
The landscape is really a character in and of itself, and just as the characters kind of showed up and allowed me to get to know them, this landscape of the steppe um, presented itself, and I got to explore it. So um, there is expansiveness. Um, there is freedom. There is dealing with uh, the impersonal aspects of nature, in terms of the challenges of surviving a winter, a harsh winter. There's the impact of climate change on um tribal politics. We are part of the natural world, and so the context in which the characters act is those natural surroundings. And then there's also a spiritual element as well. So Naya's people would have um, had much more of a sense than we do now of uh, having a place in nature, and nature being alive, being sentient, needing to be respected, um, a sense of relationship, much more of what we now would think of as an indigenous way of being in relationship with the natural world. So I wanted to bring that to the forefront, because I think that is one of the things that the story can remind us of.
Well, and to dovetail with that, I mean, community and survival are like so central to this novel. What can modern readers learn from the way these ancient societies lived?
Well, obviously, there has been tremendous change, much of it instigated by the effects of domesticating the horse. We live in a different world, but some things have not changed, and we've forgotten some of those important things. And so um, the fact that we do depend on one another, that we need community, that we are um, parts of a whole rather than sort of atomized individuals. I think a lot of the way um, we a lot of the assumptions that we make about the world, the way the world works, have really only been with us for the last couple of 100 years. And so if Naya's story can transport readers back to a time when um, choices that individuals make, the choices that individuals made had, they can see the consequences for nature and for the horses, for example, and for one another. It hopefully will remind us, even though it seems like a two worlds millennia apart, um, we have more in common with Naya and her people than we realize.
It's interesting how things come full circle sometimes.
Right, exactly.
Mhm. There are so many powerful women voices throughout the book. How did you approach writing women whose strengths take on so many different forms?
Again, I've been given this question before when I've talked about the book, and it's a little hard for me to answer because honestly, these women just showed up, and I've had the privilege of getting to know them. And I'm sure they represent, in bits and pieces, women that I've known in my life, women that I've read about in other novels, but they really just showed up. So I don't feel like I can take credit for who they are and the choices that they made. I'm just telling their story.
Well, it's so fascinating when the characters develop themselves as you're writing, and
Hmm.
how that really forms such an amazing book, especially in this case, an award-winning book. And it kind of has me thinking. I mean, your book really explores tradition alongside change. Can you share why this tension is an enduring part of the human experience?
Well, I think there are two sort of poles that shape human experience and human responses to experience. And one is love, and the other is fear. And change can inspire fear, or it can inspire excitement. Tradition, similarly, can inspire a sense of safety, but also can inspire a sense of being being trapped or caged. And so they are sort of similar poles of experience. What makes us feel safe? What gives us the the sense of safety to be able to go out and experience change, experience new things? What makes us afraid and prevents us from um, being able to try new things, step out into a new adventure? And how does love provide that sense of safety and that sense of inspiration, that determination to hang on to what is um, is valuable, the things that we do love. Um, what about when we need to, for the sake of love, let go? So it's all part of that dynamic that, again, any good story, no matter where or when it's set, will deal with those tensions. Um, and for Naya, growing up, making choices, facing decisions, um, what does she love? What does she fear? One of the things that she learns toward the end of the book is that she needs to have both the courage to feel and the willingness to act.
I think that is a place where many people get stuck. It's like, ooh, the courage to feel and then act. What a position that is.
It's the I don't want to give too much away, but there is another polarity there in terms of what we think of as a whole suite of personal attributes, and you can classify them as um, masculine and feminine, not that they necessarily apply only to men or only to women, but it's how you blend and how you're able to develop and call on that, again, that sort of polarity of human abilities, traits.
So, where do you see this story going next without giving us any spoilers?
Well, I'm deep into book 3, and there were some questions that were left sort of hanging at the end of book 2, not quite as much on a cliff's edge as book 1, but still there are open questions. So I'm working on those, and the horses, which are very much a part and present in book 2, or book 1 rather. In book 2, the horses are a little less center stage, and so in book 3 they'll be returning to center stage. And I've recently realized that there may be more than just this may be more than just a trilogy. So some of the characters that are a little peripheral in book 2 will have their own storylines. And again, it's not really my story, it's my story to tell, and so I'm following the lead of my characters.
My goodness, Sarah. I mean, your book was such a fabulous read. Where can our listeners go to learn more about both books and to be part of your community?
Well, I do have a website but I also have a Facebook page. And then books are available at bookshop.org or Amazon, and they can be ordered directly through independent bookstores.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
It was a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about my passion and bring Naya's story to your listeners.
Well, thank you, Sarah. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about your award-winning books. Make sure to visit her website at sarahvbarnes.com for more information on her work and to be part of her community. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You're listening to Moments with Marianne, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.